You want to talk about sidewalk shoveling?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your enthusiasm.
I like this topic. I think it's very important.
So there was did you see that Councilmember Robin Wansley, proposed an amendment for a $200,000 to implement a sidewalk shoveling pilot, which is, she said staff has done the work on this already, and she's just trying to fund a priority that city staff have identified. Public Works Director made the case they were not prepared to do this, and it would be a cost to other parts of their budget, their massive budget. And I think Councilmember Chuck Dye said it was something like 400 and something million a year that they spend, and Wansley wanted to move 200,000. It failed, but to move away from the specifics of that budget drama.
I do want to go back to the budget drama for a second. Because last year, and I don't have the story up right now, but we reported on a possible municipal snow shoveling program, and our streets went and proposed it. And the way that we reported it, the way we understood it, was that it was being seriously considered because of all this, the work had been done, being seriously considered for the budget. I remember there was a campaign for people to email their council people and push for it, right? So it was very much out in the open. So for her to say that, and I don't know the full story, but it just sounds weird to hear. Yeah, they're not prepared for it. It's like these, I don't know, and the fact that I had to go and talk directly with Councilmember Wansley to figure out what happened with this municipal snow shoveling thing. It just got buried. It was, I don't know, it was very strange because it had a lot of attention in January.
It's been kicked around for many years, it seems like. Mm-hmm. And so if it comes back year after year and is never implemented, maybe it's not a high priority. Maybe the real answer is we're not prepared. It's that this is not a priority, and we would like to kick the can and say we like it, but don't actually. One of the first things that I wrote about on streets.mn, that's how I got my start in being a public intellectual, Melody, was writing posts for streets.mn, and I was extremely frustrated, angry, very passionate about how terrible the sidewalks are.
That's why I got so excited when you wanted to talk about sidewalk shoveling, because I have a similar passion.
One of the first things I wrote, coming from, it's a contradiction. You live in a place that has warmer weather. I'm going to say it, Florida. And so people idealize Florida as a place you can be outside all the time and go places, but the infrastructure, the urban design is not conducive to actually doing that. You absolutely must drive everywhere. And then a place like Minneapolis, it's a dream mostly to walk around when the weather is nice and there's not ice on the sidewalks. But you get to winter and it's completely destroyed, your ability to get around. Even if a lot of people make this as a disabled person versus able-bodied person thing. But even if you're perfectly able-bodied and robust and super athletic, these are obstacles put in your way trying to move around the city, trying to walk to your bus stop.
I have an anecdote to share.
Okay, go.
About this, so then you can think. I just went on a walk with my friend Julie the other day, and our plan was to get coffee and then go for a walk. And we had to walk single file multiple times, throughout the walk. There was rarely times where we could actually walk next to each other, where if you are trying to connect with people and go for a walk, it would be nice to be next to them.
Yeah, people do this thing where they just go down with the shovel and they do a 1.5 foot wide path. Well, your feet will fit in this ice rut that we've created for you.
But your stroller won't, and
right.
Your
wheelchair will
your
not.
cane, walking with the cane, that's not going to be fun.
It's treacherous out there. And so we have got all these city priorities related to, we're going to drive less, Melody. We're going to get our vehicle miles traveled down. We're going to build a dense pedestrianized city. which is a phrase I like to use all the time. I am supportive of these things, as everyone knows. But your dense pedestrianized city has to be 365 days a year. Otherwise, you're saying only people with vehicles can get around safely in the wintertime. You have to make it so people who buy into your dense pedestrianized vision of the future, which I know is not our public works director, so in fairness to her, she doesn't believe in the dense pedestrianized city situation based on her actions.
Ooh, and, snap.
Yeah, take that, Margaret Anderson Kelleher. But I don't know, if you're sincere about it, make it a priority that people should be able to walk around 365 days a year.
I don't know, we don't have to dwell on this, but I don't know if people in these leadership positions actually get it, like how holistic this pedestrian thing is. And I don't think they will get it until they are a pedestrian or a bicyclist, like full time. Because it's just a different way of getting around. And I feel like with so many things, if people would just experience whatever they think they know about, but don't really, and have some kind of warped view about it, just like experience it and then see what it's like before you start deciding, what's going to be a priority with this stuff, and start making decisions on behalf of pedestrians and bicyclists when they have a different thing to say.
Melody, here's the part in our sidewalk shoveling segment where I hit people with the counterintuitive, wait a minute, is municipal sidewalk shoveling the answer? I don't know if it is. I'm kind of skeptical.
Oh, and why?
Is that okay? Will I get canceled if I say I'm skeptical of municipal sidewalk shoveling?
I would hope
it's a very hot topic
you must
amongst
be
the far left. So I could get canceled for what I'm about to say. I don't think so, but
do you have like a prepared statement for why you're not into you're not fully
supportive? I have some
supportive?
thoughts. I have some thoughts because, as I said, it's something I've been thinking about a ton, and I care a lot about for many, many years, ever since I moved here, which I think it's one of those things that only an outsider can get outraged about. My outrage has diminished over time as I've been here long enough. It's just like a thing you deal with, the terrible, terrible sidewalks that don't get cleared. But to do it right is very expensive. And we have experience with the park board kind of doing it in a half-assed way, because the park board clears their own trails and sidewalks adjacent to parks. And I have not been content with the way that they clear Mueller Park, for example. Like, the sidewalks there are not great. I don't know if you have a park that you frequent where you notice the park board is not living up to their responsibility to clear these sidewalks. And so when I think about the cost, I think figures range from $4.5 million on the cheap end for municipal clearing and $20 million on the top end. I think if you were going to do it, you have to not cheap out on it, because a half-assed job is still fairly treacherous. And so I think most property owners do a pretty good job. I don't know about this last snowfall. I think a lot of people did a very bad job. But in general, I think a clear majority of property owners are taking their responsibility seriously. It only takes a few on a block to make it just dangerous for people. And so if we go to a situation where the city is responsible for all the sidewalks and does a half-assed job, I think that's worse. We're spending more money for worse outcomes, I think, in that situation. So you can't cheap out. And I know there are ideas that you could do pedestrian priority routes, which would be cheaper than doing the city as a whole. And I'm more open to that being a potential success than doing all of them, because I'm just scared that the city will do a half-assed job of it. And it's expensive, and what do you do when something's expensive? You try to cut corners to make it less expensive, and you end up with half-assed sidewalks that are just about as dangerous as a untouched sidewalk.
My only counter to that counter argument is I've had really good experiences with the bike lanes being plowed. Ever since I moved here, I would notice that the bike lanes were plowed better and before streets. So I don't have that concern primarily because of that experience that I've had.
That's a good point. We should say the city is responsible for clearing their bike routes.
And they do a really good job. And it's a whole different system. So whoever is doing the bike lane clearing does a great job. They have a specific plow for it, and they just, I don't know, they clear it really fast. That gives me some hope with the sidewalks, especially like a pedestrian priority route.
I was walking on the new Franklin Avenue, the very short stretch of Franklin that's between Lyndale and Hennepin in the Wedge, and they've got a new sidewalk, new street, but also a new sidewalk with a bike path right next to it. So they're side by side, sidewalk and bike path. And I think most people who walk on it, even though it's separated by a little rumble strip with bumps on it, so you know there's a barrier here. I think most people who walk on it just think this is a really wide sidewalk. Yeah. But the case is one side is a bike route, one side is a sidewalk. City is clearing the bike route, and so when I walked through, it was perfectly clear and dry. And then there was snow on the other half of it, which is a sidewalk that the city doesn't clear. And I thought that was an interesting visual demonstrating that, I don't know, it's possible. People who want this and say it's possible, it is possible we could do this. It's happening on this sidewalk. It's just because it's dedicated to bikes, it happens to get cleared.
Yeah. Those are the same kind of lanes we're going to have on Hennepin, right?
Yeah, that seems to be what the city is moving towards. I think that's also what they're doing to Bryan Avenue, right?
It just reminds me of when I was at the U as a student, and I would, there was lots of places around the campus that are like that, where the bike lanes are right next to the pedestrian thing. And it was kind of a disaster, but people like figured it out, once there's so much traffic, like people kind of. But if it is like, as a pedestrian, it is very hard to know. There's no like alarm system that goes off when you as a walker go in between the lanes, so you really have to, it's just about education and like just awareness of like, oh, on the street, I have to be really careful about where I walk. It's possible. Yeah. Everything's going to be great.
I mean, if you want to ride 20, 25 miles an hour, that's probably not ideal for you.
That's a good point.
If you're prepared to go a little slower and watch out for people, I think it works out okay.
Yep.
I don't know. It can be irritating to have people wander into your path, but I don't know. I take pity on pedestrians because I am a pedestrian most of the time. So people make mistakes. Nobody's going to get hurt. I will often move into the street. Here's the other thing I was going to say. I often move into a bike lane if it's in the street during the winter because they are cleared. And I feel like if we start putting the bike path and the sidewalk right next to each other, one advantage here is I can just scoot over into the bike path and I won't be slipping and falling all over the place on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.